Hi, I'm Margaret and welcome to Garden School. Well, I was walking around the yard doing a little bit of cleanup and I noticed that some leaves on some plants had looked like they were hole punched, like little smooth circles had been punched in the leaves. There were no insects available, not chewed on like from a caterpillar, and the edges of the circles were very smooth, about a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch across. Some coming from the leaf margin into the leaf, maybe making like a half moon or almost a full circle. And I thought, what is that? Well, I found out what that is in a very interesting way. Come on, I'll show you. So here's an example of these perfectly round holes. They're about, between a 1/4 and a 1/2 inch across. And this is the damage that's done by the leafcutter bee. This happens to be on a Hypericum, a St. John's wort variety. Here's another example in these leaves that have already started to turn a little bit different color with the season. Now I've also found it on the snowberry. Let's go and look at that one. So here is a snowberry. It's a native for us, and here's some more damage on this plant. Now, it's damage, but it's really not going to harm the plant, and I'm certainly not going to take it off. Typically, you might find this on a rose or on a lilac or maybe some other varieties. I'm not going to remove the foliage. It's going to drop pretty soon anyway. But why do the leafcutter bees do this? Well, they're doing this because they take these circles or semicircles of leaf and they make a little capsule for their larva egg and larva to develop in. And they're going to look for a place that is hollow, a little tube or a little opening that they can build that little thing in. Now I want to take you to another place and I'll show you where I actually found one, and it was quite surprising. So I have this fountain here that was turned off for a couple of weeks, and then when I plugged it back in to set it to go again, the pump wasn't pumping any water through, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, I took it apart and something was plugging the little tube that comes from the pump up to the top. Well, I had to take a dowel and really force that, whatever it was, out. Well, it was a little capsule, green from leaves, probably those snowberry or that St. John's wort that the leafcutter bee had cut, and crafted this little house for its larva to be laid in. So in the garden, I don't want it in my fountain, but in the garden, if you leave stems of things that are hollow, you may find that the leafcutter bees are using those. Now, that is great, and sometimes it's really good not to do a super duper cleanup in your garden, but to leave some of those things for the native bees. Now, leafcutter bees are a really nice bee to have. They're not aggressive. They do sting, but it's a very mild sting, and they're not aggressive. They're not going to be defensive like a honeybee would. They're solitary bees like many native bees, and they're excellent pollinators. If you notice them in the garden, you'll probably see that they're black, and they may have yellow markings along the side or white markings along the side. But the pollen is carried in hairs on the underside of the abdomen, not on the pollen sacs like on a honeybee. So it's a little bit different. Anyway, I've seen those bees in the garden, and now I know what they were doing, or at least what that one was doing. Well, that's some kind of curious thing that happened to me when I was trying to figure out what was wrong with my pump, my little fountain here. Well, thank you, leafcutter bees. There's plenty of other stems and sticks and hollow places that you can do your little nesting. There's always more to learn in the garden. Bye-bye.